Yeah, I mean, I wasn't very team-like, but sure. So are we cool with routing me out of the way, or what's the go there?
So we're looking at it. Let me get back to you. No further action from the stewards. As a team, we can see Lando has to avoid Verstappen, so we won't take any action during the race. We can review further afterwards.
Hey, that's not fair. I'm sorry, that's not fair.
Oscar, we'll have the opportunity to review together afterwards. Focus on this race, mate. We can still have a good result here.
Yeah, but if he has to avoid another car by crashing into his teammate, then that's a pretty good job of avoiding.
How are the tyres? How's the pace?
Yeah, pace is good. I think I'm a lot quicker.
Any change there with the downshift, Max? Otherwise, you've got...
No, it's really...
Okay, understood.
There are currently 3 or 4 cars on the window, so thinking about the undercut on Max.
Yeah, easy.
Red Bull have used the absolutely first opportunity to do that. So what will McLaren do? Well, if they react to that, they'll end up behind Verstappen. If they've got incredible pace, they need to deliver it now.
Outlap critical. Let's get on with it. Gianpiero Lambiase says to Max Verstappen. The undercut is really, really powerful here in Singapore, and McLaren have conceded that advantage by thinking they're not in a position to get Lando in and then out again ahead of Fernando Alonso. But that extra second that Verstappen had on Norris meant that he could do that.
Yeah, and of course, if Lando comes out, he might only just be ahead of the Aston Martin. Will they pit him this lap? If they do, they need a 2-point-something second stop. We keep an eye out, and he does not go in the pits. No. But it's not an unduly fast lap that he's pulling out here, Lando Norris. And we've already got Verstappen, fastest man in the middle sector of this Grand Prix, entire Grand Prix, on his out lap.
It was Norris's fastest lap of the Grand Prix, though. His teammate Oscar Piastri, albeit by a tenth of a second, was actually quicker than Norris on that lap. So it's got Russell out in front now by 10 and a bit seconds from Norris, then Piastri, then Leclerc, Antonelli in 5th place, and still that 1.5 seconds behind Charles Leclerc, who's coming in from Racing Bulls. It's not Liam Lawson, it's Isaac Hadjar who's making his way down the pit lane now and pitting from the points.
See, at this sort of pace, Verstappen is quite quickly going to come up behind Hamilton, Antonelli and Leclerc if they don't want to pit just yet. So that might be the problem they have at Red Bull with this strategy, unless the two Ferraris and the second Mercedes pit. Now, if you're Mercedes...
This is going to be tight, Martin. Sorry to cut in there. Franco Colapinto and Isaac Hadjar. Hadjar is ahead of the Alpine, but that was really tight there. And Isaac Hadjar weaving all over the track. Colapinto having to watch out a little bit behind him.
Yeah, if you were Mercedes, you might just leave Antonelli out there for a little while to arrest Verstappen's progress.
Yeah, and I think maybe McLaren will be, if they weren't listening to your comments, thinking it very much themselves, and that might be what saves their strategy for the time being and keeping Lando Norris out. Anthony, to you at Sky Race Control.
So they've told Lando and Oscar to stick to their target lap time. So both laps in succession, they did 37.0. This time around, both of them 36.7s. So it's around the 37.0, their target lap time. They've got to start building that tyre offset right now to Verstappen to get him later on in the race.
This will catch their attention. Leclerc is now pitted for Ferrari, so that clears the way to an extent for Verstappen, who's catching Hamilton and Antonelli very quickly. They've got to keep an eye on the gap. McLaren have to keep an eye on the gap now to protect Oscar Piastri against Charles Leclerc with fresh tyres.
Charles Leclerc needs to be out ahead of Nico Hülkenberg here, and that's not happened.
No.
It wasn't a bad pit stop from Ferrari, but I got the feeling they thought we could get out and get clear of Hülkenberg. They haven't, and obviously there's a tyre offset between Leclerc and the Sauber, but he needs to get an overtake done here at the end of this long straight, or he's going to get held up.
He should breeze past this car, and Hülkenberg's...
No, he's not fighting it that much. No. He does breeze past it.
Yeah, he should breeze past it, and the customer motor in the back of that Sauber for Ferrari. Anyway, you used to say massive tyre offset.
Okay, so free to push now.
Well, try me, but everything is working against me this race.
Needed a couple of laps, not to go absolutely flat out, to get pace, to get heat, to bring the tyres up to a really good temperature, but not overdo it, because if you just bring these hard tyres in nice and gently, they'll be your friend for quite some time.
Yeah, he's got a long way to go, hasn't he, on them 40 laps, but it sounds like he's carrying car issues. We know he's carrying downshift issues. Yeah. Max is not particularly happy in there, is he? Verstappen then does a new fastest lap of the Grand Prix, but it's only 0.3 faster than the McLarens on their used tyres.
Now, we think, obviously, back to races earlier in the season where McLaren had much better tyre wear than their rivals, Mercedes, Ferrari and Red Bull. But they admit, McLaren, that others have develop their way back into the game here a little bit. They haven't been bringing at Woking upgrades and parts to races. Red Bull have. So have they got that tyre wear advantage? We'll see.
I think Red Bull have just made what they had work properly, is my understanding, rather than with some new front wing bits. But you see what I mean about how quickly he's catching Lewis Hamilton. So Red Bull will be hoping very much that the Ferrari and Mercedes pit Antonelli too. And what can you tell us?
So it's really interesting that the fight between Lando Norris and George Russell, that's all they're talking about to Lando, the gap between him and George Russell. And Russell's just been told, as hard as you can now. Norris was a 36.7 last time around.
Yeah, and Russell was a 37.2 last time around. Piastri was a 36.6. It was about a tenth of a second faster. See, with Verstappen as well out of the way, Martin, if Piastri wanted to push that.
So I know you've got those gaps and you're trying as hard as you can. Norris was 36.7.
Yeah, this is my pace. Tyres are dropping.
Yeah. That's all she wrote as far as George has got at the moment.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, Piastri can push, get that gap reduced in half between himself and Norris quickly. There's an undercut for Oscar Piastri out there.
You'd imagine they'll pit Norris first, but who knows? Yeah.
I mean, yeah, the lead McLaren gets the first call, but all is fair in love and war, they say, tonight. Ted, down to you.
Ollie Behrman pits, but I'm looking down to Ferrari. They've got to be thinking about Lewis Hamilton and what to do with him. His previous lap, the last time round but one, was a 1:38. It's got better now, a 1:37, but he's still pretty slow out there, Hamilton. I think his tyres are starting to go off. And will they wait for Verstappen to catch him or not before they pit him? We'll see.
Well, they reckon in one lap, Hamilton is going to be caught by Max Verstappen, not necessarily passed, but certainly caught. And, well, this gap that George Russell was able to build in the early stages of this race is paying handsome dividends for him at the moment.
It is. It gives them freedom of...
Currently, Leclerc is 5 seconds behind your pit window.
I mean, I don't want to lose track position to him. Deck feels pretty low.
Yeah, they're nervous. Well, that's what we talked about. You know, they've got to protect Oscar against Charles Leclerc at the McLaren pit wall.
On board with Max Verstappen, who is the fastest man on the racetrack currently. Lewis Hamilton is the car ahead of him, and they're going to get him out of the way, Ferrari.
Ooh, that'll be music to Red Bull's ears.
Yeah.
So just the next car up the road is Kimi Antonelli in the Mercedes.
But I tell you what, I think the McLarens are coming a bit here as well, and are making their move to try and bring themselves back into this race. As Hamilton now pits, that didn't look to be as straightforward as he would have wanted. 3.5 seconds. It's a slow pit stop for Lewis Hamilton.
Yeah, the right front didn't get the invitation particularly early, did it? That was a difficult one, but I don't think it'll cost Lewis too much because he was sort of on the back of that pack. He can make that up.
It's whether he comes out ahead or behind of Lawson. It is going to be ahead of Lawson.
Yeah, that was the key thing. So all done there. So what McLaren have got to do now is get a tyre offset, isn't it? Get fresher tyres. Piastri's got to watch out for Leclerc. Leclerc's doing 36.4. Piastri last time around a 37.5. So he lost one over a second of that advantage. So they might even have to pit Piastri first to protect if they want to keep Norris out there and give him better tyres at the end of the Grand Prix.
This was Lewis Hamilton's pit stop. We saw that it was a little bit slow. Great view that he would have...
Mercedes.
And I think getting Russell in now keeps him well clear of Max Verstappen on the track. There's the double stack, and here comes Kimi Antonelli. There's the double stack, and here comes Kimi Antonelli out of the pits, and they're hoping he'll be out ahead of Fernando Alonso on the soft tyre, who is yet to pit.
And George Russell's tyres then are...
Lando, the gap to Oscar is 4.7. He's going to have to pit soon to cover Leclerc. Are you willing to let Leclerc pit? Let Oscar pit the lap for you?
Yep. No, I would not.
I was about to say, I was surprised I heard a yes there.
I thought he said yes, but he said no, I will not.
He said yes.
He said yes, but he said no, I will not.
He said yes, no. This is Monza, no. This is Monza all over again, and he's not happy to give Oscar the first call this time around, and I'm not surprised, to be honest, because it didn't exactly work out for him at the time very well in Monza, and then they had to swap the positions back again. But
So he'll have a 7-lap advantage over Verstappen with his tyres, probably not as much as they'd hoped. So basically, by not letting Piastri pit first, it's sort of meaning Lando's got to get the tyres on, but he doesn't want all the fuss of the Monza again, as you said.
Yeah.
But it's the right time to bring that car in. But as we see Piastri go through into what is now the lead.
So Piastri takes the lead of this race. George Russell will move back into second place. The key we're watching here is Max Verstappen. There goes George Russell down the main straight, and then comes Max Verstappen in the Red Bull, and Lando Norris will come out once again behind Max. Now, he's a lot further back behind Max than he was before Max pitted, but it's that tyre offset McLaren are hoping will pay dividends.
Yeah, it's the 7 laps he's got advantage, which is over 10% of the Grand Prix. He's got advantage on the tyres as they now pit, of course, Piastri to defend against Charles Leclerc's Ferrari. So, game on, and again, also, to your point, of course, Verstappen's a lot closer to George Russell as well.
Okay, that listen carefully. We have an engine issue, 3 to 4 tenths a lap. I'm really sorry. It's back.
Wait, what the hell is wrong with this engine again?
Not overly happy, Isaac Hadjar tonight, and down in 15th place.
Listen carefully, I will tell you this only once.
Yeah, it did sound a little like that. Isaac starting 8th in this race, down in 15th after his pit stop. So Alonso hasn't pitted yet. Lawson, Stroll, Ocon and Sainz haven't pitted yet. Neither has Alex Albon. And neither has this man, Oscar Piastri, who's led this race then for a couple of laps. But Ted Kravitz is coming into the pit lane now. He is heading your way.
And at the moment, will still be behind Lando Norris, but ahead of Fernando Alonso. Got to say, well done to the McLaren guys. Their pit stop. Oh, no, now it's slow. The left rear won't go off. Oh, my goodness me, not again. They were so happy with themselves with Lando's stop because they didn't have a problem. Now the left rear wouldn't come off on that stop. What was the final time?
5.2.
Felt like about 5 seconds. You gain some, you lose some for McLaren. More problems.
He'll be ahead of the Ferrari, though, of Charles Leclerc, so no harm done in terms of track position, just in terms of being further behind his teammate Lando Norris. But yeah, so Lando rolled the dice there, didn't want
problem
that.
at Aston Martin for Fernando Alonso. The wheel gun just won't engage on the nut to tighten it up. And if it was another 4 seconds stationary for Fernando Alonso, that's just sent him tumbling out of the points after running a super first into this race. He comes out behind Liam Lawson and be hoping, behind Isaac Hadjar, be hoping he's ahead then of Colapinto in the Alpine, and he is, but only just. To go back to that McLaren pit stop, Martin, 4.13 seconds for Lando Norris in Baku, 5.37 seconds in Monza, and a 5.2 second pit stop here in Singapore. You know, it's like London buses, these slow pit stops, and this one affecting Piastri, the 2 previous affecting Norris.
Let's have a look at it. He's on his marks, he's in the middle.
Yeah, it's that left rear.
Yeah. And what's going on down here? A little bit of Dan Deere overtaking by Ollie Behrman on Alex Albon.
Like that. That was good. Albon hasn't pitted yet. Behrman has, and he's up into 12th place, ahead then of Alex Albon. Right. Let's refresh ourselves, shall we? George Russell now leads by 4 seconds to Max Verstappen. The gap was over 10 seconds before the pit stops, but George has got much fresher tyres. Lando Norris into 3rd place, and he's got fresher tyres than Max Verstappen, and he's about 5 seconds back at the moment. And then there's about a 10-second gap back to Oscar Piastri in 4th place. Then comes Charles Leclerc, about 3.5 seconds ahead of Oscar. Kimi Antonelli, as we can see here, is right on Charles Leclerc's tail, and DRS helping him at the end of the straight.
So far, you'd have to say that Verstappen and Red Bull look more comfortable on the hard compound tyres when you're looking at the lap times, because he's now matching George Russell, where George Russell was just steaming away at the front. But George will have it, I'm sure, be pacing himself. Ooh, that looked extremely close to the wall, didn't it, for Kimi Antonelli? But he's looking very racy behind the Ferrari of Charles Leclerc.
And just as we ride on board with Kimi Antonelli, let's just watch his steering wheel. And that issue still affecting him. Right hand down to keep it straight.
34 to go.
If you speak to me every lap, I will disconnect the radio.
That sounds like a "I want to be alone" message from Fernando Alonso, who is not best pleased.
That is a tell me only once message, isn't it?
In fact, don't tell me only once. I don't want you to tell me anything. Unlike Anthony Davidson at Sky Race Control, who we would like to tell everything.
Well, I mean, just looking at this, the rear-end view there of Charles Leclerc on Kimi Antonelli. So it was Leclerc, basically, the threat of that undercut on the McLarens, particularly Oscar Piastri, that scuppered their plans of going very long into this race. Both drivers at McLaren were reporting before their stops that the tyres felt okay. They were fine to carry on with their plan of going long, but the guy we're watching on the screen at the moment and that potential undercut forced both McLarens in, and that in turn really helped George Russell, who was just starting to complain about his tyres. He was asked to go 5 more laps. He said, I'm not enjoying this tyre at the moment, and that's why they brought him in. So it's actually really saved George as well, thanks to the 2 earlier stoppers of Verstappen and Leclerc.
I think what's significant also here is that, remember, Max was told outlap critical. Max went out and thrashed the life out of those tyres. He had to keep track position, try to gain track position as well. Whereas I think Russell, Norris and Piastri could just bring theirs in a little bit more gently.
Absolutely. Kimi Antonelli, by the way, fastest man on the racetrack, or with the fastest lap, I should say, but that's being helped by the 4 DRS zones around here and his pursuit of Charles Leclerc. And it's every time he watches that Ferrari at turn 14, he'll be like, yeah, just make a little mistake. Bad traction coming out of there. I'm coming for you. Yeah. Charles Leclerc stopped in this race. I'm just trying to look at the tyre offset on lap 21. Kimi Antonelli stopped at lap 25. So we've got a 4-lap tyre offset. Now, is that enough to help him, I wonder, have just slightly fresher rubber, better performance, Martin, to get him by Charles Leclerc eventually?
It's hard to overtake around here, but and the hard compound tyres have got to basically go off before I think that happens. It's all about the traction zones that will get you onto the straight, because if you can carry extra speed, you get an advantage all the way down the straight. So there's a lunging point later on if you're a bit closer into turn 7, but it's easy to forget that Kimi Antonelli is 19 years old. He's a teenager, isn't it?
Only just 19 years of age as well. Kimi Antonelli had his birthday at the end of August. Isaac Hadjar had his birthday the other day, shares his birthday with Mika Hakkinen, who I saw in the paddock looking very happy with life currently at the moment. As we head on into October, after a September where Max Verstappen was probably the happiest of any driver, to be honest. What a September he had. 2 Grand Prix wins, got his license to race the Nordschleife, won the 4-hour NLS race in a Ferrari with Chris Lulham as well. He had a great September. October hasn't started as well as he was hoping, but he's certainly not out of this one.
So that's the 3rd consecutive lap where Verstappen, and for that matter, Norris and Piastri, have been faster than George Russell in the lead.
Yeah, keep an eye on that as we head down to Ted.
Yeah, but at least, I mean, just picking up on Piastri after that slow stop where he lost a couple of seconds, he has been quicker than Lando Norris, but only by a few tenths of a second per lap. I guess the silver lining to that cloud, Crofty, is that at least Norris, while is not really closing up, particularly on Max Verstappen, and at least at the moment, Norris isn't going to win the race. It looks like George Russell, as things stand at the moment, has the best chance of winning the race, so Oscar would only drop a couple of points, wouldn't he, at this stage to Norris?
I think for me, and we're just over half race distance, nobody has done anything like a long run with heavy fuel so far this weekend in these sort of conditions. So the teams really have no idea how it's going to go from here on in, because FP2 was disrupted by so many, 2 red flags and so many minutes lost. They are all racing into the unknown a touch.
Yeah, but towards the end of the season, they kind of know their cars quite well. But you're right, they don't know. It's a bit of a mystery to them on this. Obviously, it's a temporary racetrack and it rubbers in a lot. You don't quite know where it's heading to.
I saw Bernd Mailander, the safety car driver, a bit earlier. I said, "You preparing for a busy night?" No. I said, "No, I'll be quiet. I'll put my feet up. Nothing's going to happen." Obviously, remembering last year where he didn't come out. They didn't even wave a yellow flag.
Yeah, that was incredible, wasn't it? Not a single yellow. We have had brief yellows out today, haven't we? Fair one brief yellow.
That was the first race in the history of the Formula One World Championship that didn't feature a single yellow flag or a safety car in a particular race. Ollie Behrman's getting some racing done as he makes his way back through the field. He's got past Alex Albon. Carlos Sainz is the next ahead of him. Albon and Sainz haven't pitted yet. Stroll hasn't pitted yet, and Lawson hasn't pitted yet. Maybe hoping to take advantage of a safety car if it comes.
Leclerc's been struggling a bit for pace, although the last lap was better. And suddenly it's now Hamilton coming at Antonelli, the youngster who took his seat when he moved to Ferrari.
Yeah, just out of interest, Lance Stroll, by the way, who started 15th, running 9th at the moment, is on the soft compound tyre. So they've lasted 32 laps so far on that soft compound tyre, which is a pretty decent achievement, even though he is lapping in the 139s at the moment, well, only just in the 139s.
Couldn't spend his dad's money on loads of new tyres, doesn't he? Very parsimonious.
Budget, son, budget is what he's been sold.
You want what? Some new tyres?
Not at all. What do you think, I made of money? 3 seconds, the gap out in front. As I say that, it drops to 2.9 and a bit. George Russell ahead of Max Verstappen, bit by bit, and half a second on the last lap. Verstappen's coming at Russell here, you know.
He is, isn't he? He really is, unless George has got a little bit of time in his pocket. If he has, he needs to start delivering it. But yeah, I mean, that's actually a tremendous job from Lance Stroll to get this far into the race on tyres that were believed to be good for 18 to 20 laps. In fact, it's a sterling effort.
And his sister's here as well, and Scotty, Chloe's here, and Scotty, her husband, and Lawrence's grandchild is here as well. Absolutely fabulous to see them at the racetrack. This could be hotting up a little bit out in front, Russell and Verstappen. What's happening to Pierre Gasly? Towards the end of the field, he's brushing the wall slightly there, down in 19th place.
A bit
currently.
of lag. It didn't seem clean when he hit the throttle.
Yeah, not been a weekend to remember so far for the Alpine team, but that is a bang against the wall. Yeah, that's a bigger bang that we saw Lando Norris scrape the wall a little bit earlier. I said that Verstappen was faster than Russell. Norris was also about 4/10 faster, and Piastri was about half a second faster than George Russell. So it's not just a pace advantage from the guy behind George. It's a pace advantage that the guys behind Max have got as well on George.
Yeah, we're just getting in the second half of the race. So Lando Norris there being reminded to drink, and that's a good thing to remind, because you forget when you're in the car. But all of a sudden, George can see that yellow nose of the Red Bull in his mirrors, and he might even just catch the papaya, as they like to call it, nose of the McLaren as well on the longer straight. So it's 7.2 covers the top three. And if you remember, what it was, just under 10 seconds that Russell led before the pit stops.
Yeah, it might be a bit of a slow burn at the end of this race, but there's enough tyre offset out there to make this quite a competitive finish. So I would keep everything trained to your screens or onto the track, because I don't think we're done here yet. And Charles Leclerc, by the way, has just set his fastest lap of the race, trying to keep Kimi Antonelli at bay. The strategist working hard on the pit wall, trying to work out what the target lap times are for the drivers to get those tyres to the finish and to get them into the place where they need them to be. Carlos Sainz is gaining on Lance Stroll. Those soft tyres he's struggling a little bit on at the moment.
So what they're hoping for by going long like this is a safety car, so they get a cheap pit stop, and if they don't, it kind of destroys the afternoon or the evening.
Yes, lap 35 out of 62. Just watching the timing screens here, and George Russell, I think, has just picked up his pace a touch in the last lap and a half to try and keep Verstappen at bay. I suppose certainly what Lando Norris doesn't want is Max to get into the DRS and get that advantage behind George Russell. And I would imagine George Russell would dearly love Max not to be within a second as well. Carlos Sainz is very much within a second of Lance Stroll here as we make our way through turn 11 towards this unrelenting sequence of corners across the Anderson Bridge and then onto the Esplanade. And Ted, we can head to you.
Nothing Aston Martin can do about it, but Lance Stroll doing this tyre marathon on the soft is really hurting his teammate Fernando Alonso, isn't it, Crofty? Because Stroll behind him, 1 second to Sainz, less than that to Behrman, less than that to Albon, and then Hadjar with an engine problem, and then Alonso on Hadjar's tail, and Alonso on tyres that are pretty new, and he can't really make any spaces up, even on Hadjar with an engine issue.
A bit of a DRS daisy train going on there at the moment. Let's see if Carlos Sainz can do something about it here. And there's Ollie Behrman right on Sainz's tail.
Isn't Stroll actually backing the pack up nicely for Alonso to catch up after that lumpy pit stop? Because there's quite a queue now, and Alonso can now start having a go at Hadjar, Albon and co with his fresher tyres.
Yeah, it would be good teamwork if that certainly is the case. George Russell's definitely just picked up his pace a little bit compared to those around him, and they're all lapping within a tenth of a second of each other, the top four.
Yeah, 3 different teams in the top 4, and they were virtually identical lap times last time around.
Lap 37 here in Singapore as George Russell and Max Verstappen and Lando Norris cross the line. If you don't mind at this moment, I'll do a little shout out to a young man called Will Mack.
Max has had a bit of a drama somewhere. I'm going to assume he's locked his front tyres up going in here. And,
yeah.
Very much like Lando Norris did last year. Oh, that's just given Russell some breathing space, but that was a big lock-up. I'm not surprised that caught Max out and surprised Max.
As Esteban Ocon getting very, very close with the Alpine of Pierre Gasly. That's the battle for last place currently. And this is Fernando Alonso and Isaac Hadjar. And Hadjar staying ahead of Fernando Alonso, but only just, because Alonso's coming back at him, and he's got onto the marbles a bit there, has the racing balls. He's got the engine issue, of course, and that's allowed Alonso to get back at him, and under braking, Hadjar manages to keep Alonso at bay. There's some decent racing going on out there at the moment.
It was good race. I thought Fernando got the job done there, but Isaac Hadjar had a different point of view. DRS down the pit straight, steaming around the outside, but somehow Hadjar keeps making the apex.
I tell you what, there's a young man called Will Mack. Will McIntyre is going to be really enjoying that and all of this racing. GB3 racer, as Alonso manages to get past, is a good friend of mine. Well, Will Mack, 37, he has got a battle off track at the moment that he is fighting, and had some pretty bad news a couple of weeks ago, and the motorsport community has sent a lot of love and support to him, and we do that as well as he continues his recovery back at home. We'll see you down the gym soon, Will. You can fight this one, mate. You really can.
Trophy for the hero of race.
That's cheered Alonso up, isn't it? You know, I don't want to hear from you. Don't talk to me. Look, now give me a trophy.
He means Hadjar, does he, presumably?
I think he means himself, doesn't he?
Yeah, that was great overtaking. It was very feisty racing. Good defence from Hadjar, but very, very feisty from Fernando. And again, then Fernando can now cruise straight up behind. He lost a lot of time in that battle, but if Stroll stays out, it'll put Alonso on the back of Albon and co as well, who are yet to stop.
Oh, that's good defending there from Lance Stroll. Carlos Sainz thought for a moment that the door was open. It's not. Stroll's in the points, but he's got to pit. Carlos Sainz has got to pit too. They're having a great old ding-dong. Ollie Behrman has pitted. And so the issues, the downshift issues that he's been suffering from, are they starting to affect him more? I thought this was just great racing.
Great racing.
To be fair. Fernando Alonso getting all squirrely as he gets the power down there and slightly lost the rear end.
He just buried the throttle and left a number 11 with his black rear tyres, didn't he? And off he goes. That was a very feisty. And look then, as we've got Lando Norris now beginning to really close Max Verstappen down. So Verstappen, when he has a tidy lap, is fast enough, is all right. It's the little errors that are creeping in where he's clearly struggling with the control of the car.
So the gap under 5 seconds now, Russell Verstappen, just under 5 seconds. Lando Norris, 1.6 seconds back. Verstappen has another lap deleted at turn 2, so he's gone off again at turn 2 with those struggles to bring the car to a slow. Oscar Piastri was half a second clear, faster than Lando Norris on the last lap, so that gap's 8 seconds, but if it keeps coming down by half a second, well, he'll be there or thereabouts at the end.
I think it's Max just running a little bit wide in turn 2, isn't it, and breaching the track limit line there. If he gets 3 of those, he'll get a warning, and 4 of them, and he'll get a 5-second penalty. So now he's going to have to very much keep it on the racetrack.
Stroll pits, which will be music to the ears of Carlos Sainz, who's in the points but has yet to pit. Ollie Behrman back up into 10th place, and he has pitted. And the Drivers' Championship looks like this currently. We go to Austin, the next race out, with a 22-point advantage for Oscar Piastri, and Max Verstappen closing in again on the 2 McLaren drivers. And to remind you, on the night where McLaren can win the Constructors' Championship, this is looking A-OK for them, with one driver currently on the podium, that man there, Lando Norris.
6.3 covers the top 3 now. It's really closing in.
Adam Pierce, like a handbrake, please help.
Okay, let's have B-Bal 6, please, and Torque 9.
So brake balance 6.
Yeah, and then that's an engine setting, but it'll be engine braking, so that they'll be trying to help him with, so that when you lift off, you know how it is on the road. You lift off and your car starts slowing down, doesn't it? When the car's actually spinning the engine instead of the other way around, you can really tune the engine braking on these cars very well indeed.
In 1 lap's time, the computer says Lando Norris is going to be all over the back of Max Verstappen. He's got a fight on his hands here, as Max, with his car, and maybe with Lando on the track.
Just struggling in the DTR already.
Understood. Verstappen is struggling in clean air, so let's put pressure on him.
Yes, he is. That's allowing Oscar Piastri to put in faster lap times as well, to close that gap down that has been caused in part by the slow pit stop.
So Anthony putting out to me, who drives these cars on the simulator, that how I explained what they've got to do to help Max, but the problem with that is you lose a bit of regen for your battery regeneration, so there's a little price to pay for getting rid of some engine braking.
Lap 41 of 62, on board with Lando Norris, struggling in the dirty air.
My goodness, Lando pulls those first gear downshifts really early. It won't let you pull a downshift. You're going to over-rev the engine, by the way, so.
Fascinating watching on board. He'd dearly love to have a bit of DRS down this straight to try and close in on Max Verstappen. He hasn't got it yet. He needs to get another 0.6 of a second.
Now, here's a big deal. George Russell is struggling now. He's radioing in. I'm struggling to overlap Stroll and get close to him because of the dirty air. But ahead of Lance Stroll is half the rest of the field.
Yeah.
So the leaders are now going to start encountering back markers. Now, when they get within 3 seconds of a back marker, somebody they're lapping, let's call them. Back marker seems a bit cruel, doesn't it? They're all going brilliantly well, but they start getting a warning, and when they're within 1.2 seconds, they get the blue flag. Now, what the driver's saying is, I'm struggling to get that close to these drivers. So it's now they're going to have to be really good with the blue flags here to let the leaders make their way through the pack that they're about to come across.
Is it time for my annual ban blue flags in Formula One campaign here?
That was wide there for Lando, very wide on the way in, and then just up against the wall through the exit. So I'm going to assume it'll be a scruffy lap for Norris. It is. It's a 37.0. He lost 0.9 of a second with that little moment we just picked him up with there.
Yeah, it just it compromised his exit and then went wide coming out of it. Lost a lot of time. First blue flag has been waved for Lance Stroll.
And if you go past 3 of those, and he's now letting Russell through, if you go past 3 of those, you'll get a penalty. You've got to get out of the way at the first opportunity.
Yeah, but Martin, why do we need these blue flags? Doesn't it make things way more interesting if the back markers don't have to jump out of the way like scared rabbits?
Yeah.
You know, when you were racing around Spa last week, did you respect the blue flags? Were any blue flags being waved for you?
I have my eyes closed most of the time, to be honest.
Well done, though. Top stint you had.
Yeah, I enjoyed it, I think. Oh, here we go. This is the replay then of Lando getting deep in and then having to rescue it on the exit.
Yeah, you see, it's like last year. These little couple of mistakes during the course of this race for Lando Norris. Didn't cost him last year at all. He went on to win a course from pole. It's not costing him this year in terms of he's on course to finish higher than he started. His teammate Oscar Piastri on course to finish a place lower than he started.
And Davidson reminding me that, remember in qualifying yesterday when Max said, I will remember, because he thought he got in his way. Entirely convinced he did, but Max was sure he did. Well, he's certainly sending plenty of dirty air Lando Norris's way today, so that payback didn't take long, did it?
And talking of dirty air, Fernando Alonso is breathing it in currently with Alex Albon ahead of him. But not breathing it in for long, although a big lock-up from Albon as he tries to defend that, takes him off the track, and Alonso skips through. They're all trying, aren't they? Desperately hard to keep Fernando Alonso at bay, but nothing doing there for Alex Albon, who hasn't pitted yet, remember.
Yeah, you have to get up pretty early in the morning to outmaneuver Fernando in those sort of situations.
Here's a battle. You've got 2 Saubers, an Alpine and a Haas. Hulkenberg ahead of Bortoletto, ahead of Gasly, ahead of Ocon. Yeah, who's lost a bit of end plate there. As Bortoletto gets very close to Gasly, stays ahead of him, and Ocon is just playing a watching brief here, thinking someone's going to make a mistake, something's going to happen, I'm going to skip past a couple of people. And ahead of these, Yuki Tsunoda in 14th, as Max Verstappen gets on the radio and complains once again about the balance of his car.
But he's still doing the lap times. He was quicker than Russell, who's now really getting into the traffic, though. Russell's coming up behind that massive squabble we were just looking at.
That is a lock-up and a half.
Ooh, that'll rattle the fillings out of his teeth. And part of he doesn't have any, does he? I wouldn't imagine. Alex Albon.
There's more smoke there on the track than on stage at an Iron Maiden Encore. This is Yuki Tsunoda behind Colapinto. That could have been... That could have wiped both of them out of this race, and that could have been Tsunoda losing a bit of front wing again. I wonder if it did make contact with his front wing. Colapinto then goes off, and Tsunoda skips through.
God, it's getting desperate out there, isn't it?
We can see again another lock-up as the Alpine of Colapinto disappeared off there. Did he actually leave a car's width at that final corner? And that is where we lost a bit of front wing end plate, and it's come off the Sauber. And I'm not surprised something got clipped off a car there. They were that close, all of them, for so many corners.
That's Hulkenberg's front wing on that occasion, so that's 2 Sauber front wings in the bin.
And as you mentioned, George Russell is right on the tail end of this. So pick your way through this one, George, with a little bit of care and attention.
Oscar, we now think we should take the safety car for a stop. Just let me know if you strongly disagree.
I don't know what to do right now. You do whatever you think is best.
Copy that, we've got it.
He's not happy, is he?
He's not happy. Interestingly, Verstappen is nowhere near catching and passing Stroll yet. So Max is, whereas George is sort of already steaming into that next pack.
Yeah, he's got past Ocon, so first of that pack has been lapped. Just saw Max in the distance behind Stroll. Ooh. This is Lando Norris. That was throw the car straight into the corner and see what happens.
And that is the effect of the turbulent air of a car in front when you're full beans. So we cut live to that, didn't we? Just as he was jockeying the back end of the car around the corner.
And that incident between Hulkenberg and Colapinto has been noted, and that lap from Lando Norris that we caught the tail end of was half a second quicker than Max Verstappen. And Oscar Piastri now 6 seconds behind his teammate Lando Norris. And Anthony Davidson, what have you got for us at Sky Race Control?
Oh, I'll leave this one to you, Croft.
Oh, that is... Well, the front wing damaged already, but that is Nico Hulkenberg at turn 7, heading off the track, and that's one less car now for George Russell to try and lap.
Hope he's going the right way. He sort of arrived in there backwards, didn't he? That happened to me in a race once in Adelaide. I wasn't sure I was going the right way, but it sounds ridiculous, but it's a story I'll tell another day.
Yeah, down under him in many ways. We're on board now with Hulkenberg as he sends it under brake. Oh, did he hit the wall?
No, he locked the rear axle on downshift.
Went into anti-stall, which was good.
Yeah, heavy braking, and then just lost some aero. I'd imagine he had to suddenly brake a bit harder as well, and it's nice and neatly down the runoff area.
Right, Ant, back to you.
Yeah, sorry about that. Rudely interrupted by Hulkenberg's spin. I'm glad he's all right. Yeah, so the drivers are being told, and this might be it.
Blue flags, get out of the way.
So on top of the blue flags, the other issues that the driver's been told to manage is obviously this late into the race. Look at the marbles on the outside of the last corner there, for example. Manage the marbles whilst trying to pick your way through these slower cars and look after your own tyres. So the driver's really having to think on their feet here to keep the speed going. That's why we're seeing so many mistakes at this later stage in the race.
Yeah, those marbles, if you're going for an overtake, aren't going to help either. 1.2 seconds now, Norris behind Verstappen.
Yeah. What tends to happen, though, as you come up to lap back markers, is they then become more aware of the leaders coming through. So often you're having to plough a bit of a furrow as the leader, despite the blue flags. But Russell has still got a couple of back markers between him and Verstappen, and he's hoping to make that 3 or 4 anytime soon.
Yeah, there's George Russell, 3 back markers, then Verstappen and Norris. And guess what? Lando Norris is now less than a second behind Max Verstappen. So is Verstappen struggling with downshift issues, we believe, or is it the offset on the tyres that are starting to come into play at these latter stages of the race? Either way, he is struggling there, and the back markers aren't helping either.
No, I think it's more back markers right now, because we noticed with Stroll that he eventually moved out of the way for Max and stayed out of the way for Lando to come through as well. That's what I'm telling you about how you know, the front car of a pair like this tends to wake the pack up a little bit for you.
But Max on the radio, I'm struggling a lot now, so that makes me think it isn't just the back markers. There's all sorts of struggles going on for Max Verstappen, and that's 0.7 of a second, the gap. 4 DRS zones for Lando Norris to use to get an extra 20 kilometres an hour by the end of that DRS zone to try and get alongside the Red Bull.
And Max's front left looks horrible, so if you have to go offline to pass these cars, you pick up those marbles, the little discarded pieces of rubber. They're cold. That cold rubber sits on the surface of your tyre. Max's front left looks a bit ugly.
Hamilton is pitting to put himself on softer tyres to the end of this race. Lando Norris is now just a couple of car lengths, isn't he, behind Max Verstappen? And this has implications for the championship, because if Norris can move into second place, he's going to be 6 points better off in this race than his teammate, and that then does start to make a bit of a difference in the mindset of the championship leader.
Yeah, it's a free pit stop for Lewis Hamilton, because he's got a 50-second gap behind him, so why not put him? There's no point for fastest lap anymore, which I think is a great shame personally. And that came about because of this race with Daniel Ricciardo, didn't it, a couple of years back?
Yeah, Daniel, his last race in Formula 1, getting the fastest lap at the final lap and pinching it off the man we're watching now, gaining on Max Verstappen. Lando Norris, he would have had a Grand Slam victory, wouldn't he, last year, if that hadn't happened. What he wants now is second place in this race, and has he got enough straight line speed to put pressure on Max Verstappen at the end of the straight? Not quite. And he's struggling in that dirty air to keep within a couple of car lengths of Max Verstappen through those corners. Now we get onto the main straight, and there's another chance at the end of this, but Max has now got DRS as he's trying to lap the back markers, and that's kind of helping him in his fight against Lando Norris.
If Max was trying to get a bit of extra cooling there as well by ducking around, but there again you see Max clears the way and Lando drives through the gap.
Yeah, he got stuck behind Gasly for a lot longer than Lando Norris did. Gasly getting out of the way as soon as he could. The gap just under half a second by the time we get into turn 7. And all the while this is happening, George Russell is extending his advantage out in front because, of course, he's now cleared all the back markers that Verstappen and Norris are having to plough their way through.
Russell will catch another group, though. Lawson, Alonso, Sainz, Behrman and Hadjar, Tsunoda as well, so they will catch another bone, but nothing like he's just had to go through.
It's a battle against the cars on the track. It's a battle against the elements as well. Don't forget the temperature, air temperature, 30 degrees. It's 60 degrees in the cockpit. We're on lap 48. It's a real race of attrition for these drivers who train for the season for this race as the most atricious race, to keep their mind and their body alive at these stages as Lando Norris comes back at Max Verstappen again, and Verstappen having that DRS again.
We have 8 cars within 10 seconds, massive following. It's like starting the race in the middle of the pack.
And he's just been warned, Oscar Piastri, you're coming up against those back markers. So Verstappen is now just extended by 3/10 on that lap, his advantage over Lando Norris.
Yeah, as Lando's got closer to the turbulent air being kicked off the back. This works so hard to give the downforce on the Red Bull. It's hot air as well. But so if Max, there's a back bar between them finally. If Lando can just keep him under pressure, we know Max has got some control issues going on there, and that's all he can do. But you know, Max has the high ground here.
Yeah.
If he keeps it on the track, I don't see any way that Norris will pass him.
So what's happened here, though, is that Verstappen's had that DRS to help him against those struggles as he makes his way through the back markers. Now they've cleared those back markers. Lando Norris still in DRS range, albeit only just. If he can keep within DRS range, he gets the advantage. Max Verstappen doesn't. Then we'll see if there's a chance.
Oh man, this race is so much fun. You have no idea.
Oscar, there's a lot of opportunity. There's good points here.
I tell you what, for a man who is normally so calm and so in control, he's letting everyone know that he is not a happy bunny here tonight, and he really would just like to go home at the end of this and forget all about it.
He's not under any kind of pressure from behind, but the difference now, of course, is Verstappen is not in the dirty air of the back markers, so we'll see. We'll see now if we're... So the two overtaking places really are, if you can get a tremendous run down here into 1 and get a bit brave, but it's turn 7 and turn 16 where you got the chance for a lunge. But you know, Max is a long shot for the World Championship. Lando's not. Lando can't afford to trip over Max Verstappen tonight.
That's a very good point. Liam Lawson pits Ted Kravitz. The only one you haven't seen in the pit lane is Carlos Sainz in this race tonight.
Yeah, so well done, Liam Lawson. Got a medium tyre to lap 49, actually. Haven't seen Carlos Sainz as yet. Goal hanging for a safety car, no doubt. But when you start from that far back, then that's what you have to do for the Williams. I'm just wondering with Piastri, so that's 2 races in a row, really. We've seen him lose his cool. Baku ended up in the wall. Here hasn't been the usual so laid back his horizontal self. I'm just wondering what rule it was that he feels Lando broke. Was it that in passing him he clonked into him?
Yeah.
That must be it. And I'm just wondering how much that will be addressed in the midst of a Constructors' Championship celebration, which it looks like at the moment McLaren are headed for. Such is their #1 objective in this race.
Yeah, I think the ground rules changed this evening, didn't they, for the rest of the season between the 2 McLaren drivers. It looks like gloves off to me now.
Yeah, well, once the Constructors' Championship is done, I did suggest to Lando that the gloves are off in terms of the drivers' battle, and he said, look, there's little things we can do race by race that we become more free to go and race. And when the Constructors' Championship has been done, which it will be at the end of the next 10 laps, well, let them go and race, and let's all enjoy the fun. Lewis Hamilton currently down in 7th place on those soft tyres. Fastest man on the track, 1:34.3 on the last lap. I wonder, can he get Kimi Antonelli before the end of the race?
He should catch Antonelli and Leclerc at the end of the race, Lewis Hamilton. So he had that free stop. If he can keep that kind of pace up, yes, he'll be there, won't he? He'll be there before the end of the race, just on their tail.
That'll please Charles Leclerc. If a second race in a row, Lewis Hamilton finishes ahead of him after they didn't swap in Baku, and Lewis was given that late pit stop here tonight. Back to the Norris-Verstappen battle in a moment. There, coming up to the back of Yuki Tsunoda, is your race leader, George Russell. So you mentioned, Martin, there's that second pack that need to start getting out of the way, and George has arrived on the scene.
Yeah, George is there, and it's Max's teammate. But he's obliged to get out of the way with the blue flags like anybody else. But yeah, Russell then it's a 4-car pack this time. Should be a little bit easier to get through.
This could be interesting. Lando Norris has never been closer on this particular part of the track than he is to Max Verstappen, but he just runs out of straight by the end of it. He needs a really good exit here, and then he might be able to get alongside. Don't forget, his tyres are 7 laps fresher than Verstappen's in the Red Bull. Verstappen's doing a super job with this defence, but now those fresher tyres are going to start to really pay dividends, as Carlos Sainz, who'd been goal hanging for that safety car, has decided now he has to pit, and does so. Comes in the last man to make a pit stop.
Russell is past Tsunoda. He's got Hadjar and Beerman ahead of him, and then he's got clear air then until the end of the race. Maybe we'll have to pass Alonso as a singleton car out there. So this is key now for George Russell, just to get these 2 overtakes done in the next lap, and then he can control his own destiny.
Gotta say, George Russell, he feels he's owed a little bit by this place. After missing out on that podium as he was chasing down what could have been a potential victory a couple of years ago. He has not put a foot wrong in this race tonight. Didn't put a foot wrong last night as well. He is on for a well-deserved victory, and what a time for George Russell to get a victory while he's still waiting to sign a new contract with Mercedes, where they might have an agreement, they might not have an agreement. Ted was told in the notebook last night an announcement could be super close, but how close is that, and what is the sticking point, and why would Mercedes want to risk George Russell ever departing?
Indeed, I'm sure they don't, but it's rather complicated there, isn't it? They're his managers as well as his employers, which is what the hold-up is.
Yeah, well, let's just hope that common sense prevails and that they get that sorted, because on the track, I think he's having a splendid season. I really do. And called in to step up and to start to lead that team as a driver after the departure of Lewis Hamilton, and for me, he's done exactly that. Meanwhile, 10 laps to go. Lando Norris still chasing down Max Verstappen after the qualifying incident yesterday, where Verstappen felt that Lando's dirty air as he cruised back into the pits had cost him a chance of pole, and I'll remember that, he said. Well, he'll remember this tonight if he can pull off the ultimate defence against the McLaren.
Just keep an eye on Oscar Piastri. He's starting to get down into the 135s now, just 5.5 seconds adrift, and as they're side by side going into turn 7, if these two start squabbling, Piastri will be on their tail.
And I'm sure he would love to be arriving in a couple of laps on that one. Verstappen stays ahead then of Norris. Leclerc now has Antonelli within DRS range, and Lewis Hamilton, we said was closing in on Kimi Antonelli, has got that gap down to under 8 seconds in the last 3 laps. So we'll keep an eye on that. Fernando Alonso into the points after getting some great overtaking done. Currently 8th ahead of Ollie Behrman, who started 9th, career best 9th for him, and Isaac Hadjar. Engine issues for him. He's keeping Tsunoda at bay.
Close.
Only just, but in the last points position. Yeah, close there. But once again, it's this exit here, I think, where Lando Norris needs to just stay a couple of car lengths closer.
Yeah, and what's Tsunoda going to do here? What is Tsunoda going to do for the team? He lets them both through.
Yeah.
Fair play.
Absolutely. Let's just have a little look again on board with Lando Norris. Oof. Well, that was a bit close, wasn't it?
I tell you what, he knows he can trust Max like that. There's very few drivers you could trust with that kind of half move, really.
Max so aware of what's going on around him, would have been looking in his mirrors, left the space, kept a straight line. No chance of any collision or any contact there.
Piastri now 3.2 seconds behind Norris, and you'll see him in. He's got to get through Tsunoda. Yeah, there's Piastri in the background. Wow, he's coming at them like a rocket.
Lap 54 of 62. Stand by your beds, folks.
Bortoleto ahead is on 40 lap old parts.
Yeah, my mediums feel like 100 lap old.
Compared to the softs that were what?
32 laps old, yeah.
Oh dear, great reply. Because in all honesty, I'm not quite sure why that message was necessary in the first place, but there you go. Right, back to Verstappen and Norris and Piastri, who on this lap...
So Antonelli's passed Leclerc.
He has. We haven't seen it yet, but he has managed to get past Charles Leclerc. He had that DRS, didn't he? And Lewis Hamilton is now under 4 seconds behind his teammate Leclerc. I wonder if Ferrari will be asking Charles Leclerc to let his teammate through to try and get Antonelli. And I wonder after Baku what Charles Leclerc's answer would be.
Yeah. So I think Lewis tried to give him that 8th place on the grid, but I don't think either of them were too fussed about it in the end, were they? 8th and 9th.
Lance Stroll's got Bortoleto as he moves up into 14th place on those ancient tyres. And the gap is just... Max Verstappen has just pulled out a bit more of a gap on Lando Norris by about, a couple of tenths on the last 2 laps.
So Leclerc then, with that last lap being being overtaken, he lost 4 seconds to Hamilton, who's catching him.
Yeah.
And there you go. They reckon it'll be within a lap. Hamilton will be a lap. I don't think so. Only if Leclerc has another horror story. But yeah, actually, end of this next lap, Hamilton will be. Ferrari will surely ask him to move over immediately, see if Hamilton can get a run at Antonelli.
If you were Max Verstappen, would you want Lando Norris about 0.8 of a second behind you, keep him in DRS, which means that it makes it more difficult for his teammate to overtake him, and therefore it kind of protects you a bit because you've held Lando off for so long anyway?
He might do, because he might think that helps him catch Piastri a little bit more. We saw Carlos Sainz pull that trick, didn't we, by keeping Norris in his...
Please confirm situation is clear on the Max on Norris. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. And what is that situation? You'll get a blue flag, you've got to let them pass.
Yeah, you got basically the sister team. So basically, don't hold Max up and do hold Lando up. I'm going to assume that means if you get half a chance.
Yeah, and
wow.
Don't forget, Isaac Hadjar might well be Max Verstappen's teammate for next season as well.
Yeah.
Which will go down very nicely in their first briefing together if that particular rumour comes true. Verstappen closing up then on Hadjar. Hamilton absolutely closing up on the back of his Ferrari teammate Charles Leclerc. And you can see now that he's got DRS on Charles Leclerc. That switch.
Leclerc lets him through.
And he does let him through. That was instruction, and instruction complied with, because Hamilton can still get after Antonelli.
Yeah, no-brainer for Ferrari to do that. So what kind of cunning plan do Racing Bulls have for the Red Bull here, and more importantly, the McLaren?
Well, maybe Anthony Davidson knows, or maybe he's got something else for us.
It's just on this Hadjar news, as both these drivers come up to him now, Crofty. All simply who's getting told was they are closing in, so be aware that Norris is only 1 second behind Max. So I'm sure that he'll let both of them by, like we saw Yuki do. I couldn't hear any instructions to intentionally hold up Norris, just for the record, and here we go.
And he does that.
Fair play.
Isn't that great? Look at that. Salesforce driver of the day. George Russell, 16%. Fernando Alonso, 15%. Max Verstappen, 13%. And I'm not surprised, because all three have had a terrific race.
It's just some great driving out there tonight. I think Fernando had himself about 100%, didn't he, after that big overtake. But, and he's back up into the points despite a 9-second pit stop, is Fernando Alonso.
Sort of race he really enjoys. 6 laps to go, and Lando maybe was just recharging his battery a little bit, and that's why he dropped off behind Verstappen to then get that battery charged up to go for a full-scale assault in the last 6 laps. But he's certainly got back in the DRS range, and he's got a lot closer on these last 3 miles, I think.
Max Verstappen certainly helped made George Russell's evening more comfortable, hasn't he? Because he's sort of basically had the McLaren of Lando Norris tucked up behind his gearbox pretty much all evening.
Yeah, it's been quite the battle for Lando Norris, but starting 5th and having a battle for 2nd place, even if he doesn't get that 2nd place, you might just think, you know what, I've done everything I can tonight from where I qualified.
Yeah. Oof, that was close to the 1910 that bridge was built. And I don't think it's going to be knocked down anytime soon by a Formula 1 car. I think I know who would win if you hit that.
Yeah. I'm just looking here, 2.1 seconds the gap now, Antonelli to Hamilton, half a second Hamilton fastest on that previous lap, trying to keep you abreast of all the other battles that are going on. Albon on Stroll, a little bit further down the field. And of course this one, Verstappen, lap after lap after lap, through the back markers, driving into the clean air, has got a wing mirror full of papaya. As Norris makes his way down the straight again, picks up a 1/10 of a second, but only a 1/10 of a second, and he just needs to find a touch of magic from somewhere if he can break the spell that Verstappen's got on this 2nd place.
Yeah, unless he can make Max drive offline and have to start defending into braking zones again. Piastri's advance has just slowed a little now on the previous lap, and he can't quite get anywhere near. He had that one run, didn't he, down the outside of a braking zone, and that was about it.
I think I pose that question, is it advantageous for Verstappen to keep Norris in DRS? And I think the answer is yes, and that it is stopping Piastri's advance as well.
Yeah.
Because he's dragging that McLaren towards him, but, you know, like a good boxer, just jabbing away and keeping him still at arm's length. Ted, let's head down to you.
Oh, that was a... Hello? Yeah, there we go. Yeah, so if we know that Max has got all these problems with downshifts and handbrake on the rear, then Oscar will know as well. He'll be passing that on, just see if he can make a move at the end of the race. An update on Russell's car. I've asked Mercedes how's it going. They say he is managing his pace and just taking care of the tyres. So the same lap times as Verstappen and Norris is the leader, George Russell, but I think he's got an extra bit in hand if he needed it, but he doesn't at the moment.
With 6 Grand Prix remaining, McLaren on course for back-to-back Constructors' Championships. It'll be the first time since that run of 4 championships, 1998 to 1991. Whatever the debrief will consist of when it comes to the drivers racing against each other, Andrea Stella will start with a congratulations to everyone for another job well done for a Constructors' Championship that has looked about as likely to be won with this many races remaining since what, the Bahrain test?
Yeah. It's been a dominant year, but they've been caught up, haven't they? I think when we get, it'll be interesting in Austin, but particularly in Qatar, Brazil, Abu Dhabi, will the advantage of the McLaren come to the fore again? It should be stronger there than it is even here, or even indeed Austin. But they you know, basically the pack have caught McLaren. They've stopped developing, and we haven't been at tracks that really work to their advantage, which are long, high-speed corners, and when you've got really high tyre wear.
Because the drivers are going to say, look, you might have won the Constructors' Championship. We understand, because we have to switch off development earlier, because we've got less wind tunnel time, less CFD time as well. We understand why you do it, but you've got to give us a car to go and win races, because we want to win a Drivers' Championship. And we've seen here Red Bull and Mercedes with pace, extra pace over the McLarens, stopping that McLaren win, which, you know, maybe 6-7 races ago might have looked a bit more of a formality. Hamilton within half a second of Antonelli, Martin.
Yep, that's what I was just going to say. He is. And in his slipstream with those soft tyres. So we'll see what Lewis Hamilton can do. and he's still behind him as they head into turn 16.
And Piastri now 2.5 seconds, give or take, behind Lando Norris. So that gap's still coming down. Is he going to run out of time, though? Is Lando Norris a little bit closer to Max Verstappen? Probably not.
Lewis Hamilton's been off the track in turn 16 and lost a lot of time to Kimi Antonelli. Now 2.5 seconds behind, so a lot of that advantage just ebbed away.
That might just have cost Lewis a chance for a top 5 finish here in Singapore. He might be settling for a 6th place, which is, of course, where he finished last year.
Might well have been a bit of a side-by-side overtake, mind it.
Yeah.
We'll get a replay, no doubt. No, it wasn't, apparently. It's just Lewis. I've lost my brakes. Just Lewis getting deep into 16, and that is why.
Well, that happens at the end of this race. We've seen it before. Mark Webber, I think, famously. Jenson Button was saying, you know, you do lose your brakes a bit here. Let's have a little look here. This is on board with Kimi Antonelli. On lap 54.
So Hamilton had overtaken him, hadn't he? And then he's re-overtaken him.
Wowzers. But you do. You've got 10 braking zones, 4 heavy, and it's hot, it's oppressive. You're running with no cool air coming through. It's very easy to lose your rear brakes or your front brakes here.
Yeah.
And things like that happen. You've got to take it steady, I think, now if you're Lewis Hamilton to get home to the end of this race. There's been no break whatsoever for Verstappen in his defence here against Lando Norris, and he's still keeping him within DRS range, and Piastri is still coming back at these two. There he is in the distance, but surely, even for him, just a bit too far away at this stage of the race.
Yeah, he'll start getting in the turbulent air, which will give him a few more challenges, Oscar Piastri, but so 8.5 seconds covers the top 4 after all the dramas and issues and the rain before the start of the race. They will be exhausted when they get out of there. But you have to say, Max Verstappen has, whatever his issues, he's handled them beautifully.
That replay we saw, that was Kimi Antonelli getting past Charles Leclerc.
Oh, was it?
That was lap 54. I'm just trying to work out what was going on there, but that is the latest of late replays. To be honest, it wasn't Lewis Hamilton.
Hamilton's right back now. He's fallen back behind Leclerc
yeah,
again.
They've done the swap because Hamilton's brakes have gone. He can get to the end because Alonso's 43 seconds behind him, but Hamilton is really, really struggling, and that's where they swapped it around at Ferrari for Lewis to get past Charles Leclerc, and then we saw that puff of brake dust, didn't we?
Yeah.
And this is where I think his brakes have completely gone. Yeah, you can see, look, the sparks coming on that front left brake as he tried to apply it.
Wow, he's run out of front brake disc.
He certainly has, and then Charles Leclerc getting past. Lewis is just cruising around here in an attempt to get home to the finish, and maybe Charles Leclerc's brakes have gone a little bit as well. But let's go back to the battle on the final lap. George Russell is making his way to turn 7, through it now. Behind him comes Max Verstappen, behind him comes Lando Norris, behind him comes Oscar Piastri. This is the top 4, and this has been great entertainment from this top 4, but it looks like Lando Norris might just have to settle for 3rd place behind Verstappen. And Verstappen might have to settle for 2nd place after winning back-to-back races in September. And George Russell looks like he's going to have to settle for a win that he fully deserves and will be celebrating long into the Singapore night.
Yeah, this track owes George, doesn't it, a result, but he's gone and taken it for himself this evening. Tremendous driving. Pole led, he hadn't led every lap, did he? Because the McLarens took over after he'd pitted, but and Hamilton's got fastest lap of the race, but George Russell commanded qualifying, didn't he? 2 brilliant laps, either of which would have been on pole. Perfect start, and has controlled the race nicely.
He certainly has. Before tonight, we had 5 different winners in 5 years of the Singapore Grand Prix. Make that now 6 different winners in the last 6 runnings of the Singapore Grand Prix. For the first time ever here, he'll stand on the podium on the top step. George Russell wins the Singapore Grand Prix, and what a victory that was for him. Max Verstappen settles for 2nd place, holds off Lando Norris, who barged through and passed his teammate Oscar Piastri on the 1st lap. McLaren finished 3rd and 4th, and McLaren are Constructors' champions in 2025 for the 2nd year running. Behind McLaren comes Kimi Antonelli on the road, then Charles Leclerc, then Lewis Hamilton. But the fight is going on for the Ferrari cars just to try and limp home, and Fernando Alonso might yet get past Lewis Hamilton as they make their way to turn 13, and they're maybe both suffering brake issues. Leclerc 6th. Lewis Hamilton.
Yes, mate. Well done.
Woo!
What a weekend. Well done.
Oh, yes. Come on. Come on.
George, that was mega today. Driver-car combination, perfect.
Thanks, Toto. Made up for 2 years ago.
Well done, George. You were owed that for tonight. You really were. Charles Leclerc has managed to finish this race. Hamilton is trying to hold off Fernando Alonso. We're watching McLaren celebrating. We should be watching the track here because Fernando Alonso, who was 43 seconds behind Hamilton, crosses the line 0.4 of a second behind Hamilton. That was a desperate fight to the finish.
What a mate. First P3. We chip away at it. And we are the World Constructors Championships. We did. We won 2 years running. What a mate.
Yeah. I'm pretty tired, man. I didn't drink, I couldn't. I feel too bad. But who cares? We all won another World Championship for McLaren. Congratulations, everyone. You all worked so hard. I'm so proud to be part of it all. Beautiful. Simply beautiful. Well done, everyone. Very well deserved. Incredible.
Yeah, congratulations indeed. At the circuit, back at the factory, there's so many people involved in. The drivers are the final link in the chain, but they are only a link in the chain. If the chain breaks anywhere else, it's no good to you at all.
It is the first Mercedes win in Singapore since 2018. It is for Lando Norris a podium that secures the team that he has been with for so many years. They're back-to-back Constructors' Championships. Well done to them. So behind Hamilton and Alonso, Ollie Behrman came home to score 2 points, and Carlos Sainz, who started 18th and last in this race and ran the longest of anyone else on the first stint, 50 laps on the medium tyre, comes home to claim the final point for Williams. Terrific effort from them. Terrific effort from George Russell here tonight. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of chat about the Norris and Piastri incident on lap 1. In the end, the team can celebrate tonight. And Lando Norris closes in by another 3 points on Oscar Piastri's championship lead. While we're talking about all that, just up on our screen now, Lewis Hamilton has been noted for exceeding track limits. And it might just be that after being shown a black and white flag, and he was, because his brakes were basically going, he's gone over the line a bit too often, and he'll get a 5-second penalty here, which could cost him 7th place.
Yeah, I think he will do, because he's the last 4-5 mentions on the can make that 6 for track limits because he ran out of brakes. So yes, I think you could well be right there. Sadly for Lewis Hamilton, there could be a 5-second penalty coming his way.
His last lap was 1 minute 47.7, and Fernando Alonso's was 1:36.2. That's how much he was struggling by. But we'll await the news from the stewards on that one. And that is George Russell and his car. And this will be a win that means a huge amount to him. Left no stone unturned in his preparation. Wasn't particularly well in Baku. And springs from the cockpit, feeling full of the joys of it here in Singapore tonight. Car 63 on top for what is George Russell's 5th win in Formula One, his 2nd win in 2025.
Last time I saw George this morning in the lift, he was going to the pool to have a bit of chill-out time. Obviously did the trick nicely, didn't it?
And I would imagine he's probably as damp now as he was when he emerged from that pool, given the amount of sweat that the drivers have to contend with, and losing 4 kilograms of weight during the course of the race.
Yeah, George's signature stance as well delivered. Max Verstappen congratulating him, and Yeah, it's a big night for McLaren, but it's a big night for George Russell too, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Confirmation, Lewis Hamilton will be investigated by the stewards after the race for exceeding track limits. His brakes had gone and basically he was struggling to stay very much on the track. Max Verstappen, what a great defensive job that was, and we'll hear, I'm sure, about the struggles he had during the course of the race. From quite early on, he was complaining about the downshifts. Well, it's a tidy second place for him, and once again he closes in on the championship leader, and Lando Norris too, the two McLaren drivers. Piastri 336 points now, Norris 314, Max Verstappen 273, the top three in the Drivers' Championship. It's 18 points between Piastri and Norris, and then Max Verstappen 27, 31, 41 points further back.
What tends to happen now is you start welling up, the heat wells up in you. And driver of the day there, Fernando Alonso, Salesforce driver of the day, and he scored. I think it just reminds you how many great drivers there were out there. But what happens is, say, the heat wells up, the adrenaline dies down, and suddenly it hits you like a brick.
And you feel like you've been sat in a furnace for the last 2 hours. I think we're going to hear from Andrea Stella in a moment, as well as the top three. Smiles all around down in Parc Fermé. And every time one of those fireworks goes off, I can feel it in my feet on the floor of the commentary box. Jenson Button, coolest man in Singapore tonight, barely a bead of sweat on him, has the microphone.
Congratulations, Zach, Andrea, and the whole of the McLaren team. You've just won the 2025 Constructors' Championship.
Pretty awesome. Unbelievable team here, unbelievable team back at the factory. All the men and women have done such an awesome job. The leadership that Andrea has provided to this race team, the whole leadership team, our owners, our shareholders, it's such a team effort, and pretty awesome to go back to back. It's been a while since we've done it.
Yeah, and Andrea, you know, I guess it was kind of inevitable that how the way this season has gone, that this was going to happen, but what are the emotions right now? You've just done back-to-back championships, the first time since 1991.
Yeah, it's an incredible emotion. I want to share it with the team, thank them for the incredible work. I mean, even with 6 races to go, which looks unbelievable, but that's thanks to the great work that has happened at McLaren. Thank you to our fans, to our sponsor, all the technical partners. It's teamwork, and it's great that the teamwork is rewarded like this.
Yeah, so we see with championships, you know, when you win one, when you win two, there are many more. Do we think this can continue through the next, you know, regulation change in 2026? It's a big ask, obviously.
We are definitely working very hard to continue this streak of wins into the future with these big changes of technical regulations. We know it's difficult, but it's an undertaking that we are, you know, all in for it.
Zach, obviously, big celebrations tonight, I'm sure. How do you work with the drivers for the rest of the season? Because you've won one championship, this is a big one, but obviously Constructors is big, but Drivers is really special. And you've got two very feisty young individuals here that both want to take that title.
They've driven brilliantly all season. You can't win the Constructors without two awesome racing drivers. As you can see, we're letting them race. That was a bit more of a nail biter there, but they race hard, they race clean, they race to win. So a lot of racing to go, and hopefully some more victories for both of them.
Congratulations, guys. I'll let you celebrate with the team.
Yeah. Thanks, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Quite a double act, aren't they?